right, here it is. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Outside the Cinema, your weekly source for cult movie discussions. We're here with the good professor, Mr. Chris.
Yep.
And the cool guy, Bill. Welcome back. That's a little too NPR, right?
No, that's fine.
No, it's fine?
Yeah.
I wish I could go full NPR. But that's just too dry. It's too dry. How is everyone? Another show, another week, a couple more movies. You know, it is what it is, right?
It is, yeah.
It is, yeah. So I'm just going to kill that music right there. Oh, that was the... Whoops, I hit the wrong button. I also brought the fade down too quick. Anyway, welcome back to the show, everybody. A couple movies this week. Scott and Joe. I believe we have a nice segment from Joe. So Joe sent his segment last week, he said, and I just never received it for whatever reason. And like it was sitting in his sense, but it never showed up on my thing. So he got a free week off out of it, the bastard.
Interesting.
Technology, dude. Like in the metaverse, am I right?
What?
Well, it's meta because it's Facebook.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
the metaverse.
Okay.
You know you're not down with that? Not down with the metaverse?
No. Based on the conversation we'll have in like 4 weeks about my feed, no, not a fan. I'm actually falling away from it. So
That's your third favorite Korn song?
yeah, I guess because I've never ranked them. So
Never taken the time to rank them. All right. Speaking of ranking things, let's talk about the movies this week. 2 flicks picked by Chris here. Why don't you tell everyone what they are?
Oh, me?
Please. Yes, you.
Well, I was watching a YouTube video, as you do, and it was these 2 movies inspired analog horror, and they're half right because Special Broadcast, which I think should be up there with stuff like Threads and The Day After, it should be mentioned.
Yes. Yes. I'd never heard
Me
of it.
Me either. And I was alive when this premiered. What we watched was the rebroadcast of it. And I purposely picked the one with commercials because it was a CBS or NBC Sunday night movie.
NBC Sunday night.
Yeah, I figured with the commercials in, they wrote this script around having to cut to commercial. So it just, I think it played the whole thing out really well. So we watched, somebody in Chicago taped it back then, and there it is. It's basically Ghost Watch, but on a 24-hour news channel with terrorists and a nuclear bomb in the harbor. Where are they? South Carolina?
Charleston.
Yep. And they are anti-nuclear protesters, and they want all of the detonators from all of the devices in and around the area, which is a huge target because, that's really close to D.C., the seat of power and where all that stuff happens.
That's fair.
The other one is really interesting. Is it? Well, for one reason, and it's kind of a personal reason. Because I don't think anybody else is really going to care that much that this is basically the movie that inspired Predator.
It is?
It came before it. There's an alien hunting people played by Kevin Peter Hall.
All right.
But what Predator doesn't have is crazy Martin Landau. And he is...
Oh, and Crazy Jack Palance.
I was getting to that, but that's a different kind of crazy. Martin Landau.
Yeah.
He when he plays like straight scientist, sci-fi, action star, whatever, he can be a suave, charming leading man. But when he plays the kook from the woods, you want to get away from him. He's kind of strange. Yeah. And everybody in Without Warning, which is the other one. I don't know if I said the name. Everybody in this understands the job, and they brought the whole pig to ham it up.
They did. And it's a Great and Clark flick, too, we need to mention. So,
well, yeah, so there's the 2.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, if you're a Patreon member, cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. If you're not, consider joining patreon.com/outside the cinema. Get access to the show archives. You get to make suggestions for the films. You get the shows early normally. You get exclusives. You get like music shows and stuff that we don't post anywhere else other than there. If you like independent podcasting and would like to see independent podcasting survive, join the Patreon, patreon.com/outside the cinema. So I'm going to say about that. We are screening Don't Forget to Leave as part of, I realized I plugged it in one of the pre-recorded shows that we did the other day, but probably won't air until after the screening. So I need to make sure I mention it now. Sunday, July 14th in Somerville. All the information is on my Facebook page, my Instagram page, all those places. A free screening of Don't Forget to Leave as part of the Somerville International Film Festival. So you can get there and check it out. If you are out in the Worcester, Uxbridge area, we are part of the Sean O'Shea Film Festival again this year. Great friend, Skip, good friend of the show. He's a great friend of the show, too, I guess.
Yeah.
Always takes care of us and our stuff. So he is screening Don't Forget to Leave on Sunday, July 20th, I believe, is the date.
Okay.
Unless I wrote that down wrong. And he's also screening Ouchie, which is the horror short directed by Kyle that I helped produce.
Right.
So if you're out in the area and you would like to join us out there, I don't know if I'm going to be there because it is like 4 days after my surgery. So in all likelihood, I won't be there.
Yeah, you probably won't be able to walk too well for a little bit, huh?
No, I mean, and I'm supposed to be in the hospital. They said 2 to 5 days.
Oh, yeah, you might not even be out then.
So yeah, there's a chance I might not even be out of the hospital.
Yeah, it's better to not say I might. You won't.
So go down and support. Kyle will be there. Kyle will be there regardless. Yeah. So go down and support the OTC Industries crew and watch some great films at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't have the full list in front of me to plug what else is playing. I know Michael Neal's got a script in the competition. I think he worked on a couple of the shorts that are there too. The Sean O'Shea Film Festival is always one of my favorites. Whenever we have something, we always make sure to put in for it. And Skip always takes care of us because he truly appreciates our work. And it's not just you're my friend.
Yeah, no, he really supports filmmakers. Like, no, that's not a joke or like a hyperbole. He's a good guy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So with all that said, now I'm ready to kind of tear our way through these two flicks. Do you have a preference to which one we do first?
Not really.
Not really. No. I think we're probably I feel like Special Bulletin we might get a little more out of. All right. Special Bulletin you're going to get a little more out of me.
Okay.
So, I should have jumped on YouTube and seen if there was a trailer.
Oh.
For
yeah,
it.
If it's a TV movie,
or like a
would
TV
there be?
spot. Yeah. Well,
there'd be a commercial, yeah.
Yeah, this Sunday on the Sunday Night Movie.
Yeah.
Special Bulletin 1983. Let's see here. So that looks like a clip. That's the whole movie, the version we watched.
Which there's an edited version on YouTube without the commercials. The regular commercials, and then there's the one with the commercials, which is the 2-hour version, which is the one I recommend.
Yep.
If you're going to watch it. Now, it's not.
I didn't realize it won an Emmy for Outstanding Miniseries or Movie.
No, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even look that up.
Let's play this. Maybe this is a clip. Let's play this and see what happens.
We interrupt our regular programming to bring you this special bulletin from RBS News.
Good morning. This is Susan Miles in New York. There's a rapidly unfolding situation in Charleston, South Carolina this morning, where an unidentified group is holding 4 hostages on board a ship. Apparently, they are demanding to make a statement live over the RBS network. Megan Barkley is in Charleston and has more on that story.
Susan, the situation began approximately 1 hour ago when the Coast Guard attempted to board a vessel that had berthed at the wrong dock. The footage you are about to see was taken by a crew from the RBS affiliate in Charleston, WPIV. This is unedited material. As you'll see, events were happening very rapidly.
Charleston docks were quiet today as talks broke down again between longshoremen and the Port Authority. This is quiet, right? Great. Very nice. Thank you. All right. Dock strike, take 4. Charleston docks were quiet today. What's going on here? What's happening here? Try and get closer, Pat, all right? Come on, let's get closer.
All right, so that's a quick clip from Special Bulletin 1983, which was an NBC movie of the week, one of those classic Sunday night movie specials that they don't do anymore. Yeah. So I had never heard of this, but the version you sent was is the version that's available on YouTube, as you said, with all of the original commercials and the bumpers and everything in it. Heavy sense of nostalgia.
Yeah.
For me, right out of the gate. I was young too. I was probably only 6 when this came out, so I wouldn't have watched it originally.
There were some jingles though that I had totally forgotten about in some of those commercials.
Oh yeah. But yeah, definitely got the warm feels in the tum tum
for part of
it. Mostly just the NBC Sunday night movie jingle.
Yeah.
And there was some great commercials, and the one thing that like immediately took me back to being like 6-7 years old was the preview for the final battle.
Yeah, when they're going to get the kid, right? The baby.
Yeah, and like V left such an impact and mark on me. And I just like, I haven't watched it in years, mostly because I'm afraid that if I do watch it, it's not going to hold up nearly as well as I would like for it to.
It won't look as polished and professional, as impressive as you remember it, but it'll still be enjoyable, I think.
Fair
right?
enough.
I mean, because nothing is going to stand up to your memories of it.
No, that's true. That's true. Except the Sunday night movie jingle, apparently.
Yeah.
So this is starring Ed Flanders, Catherine Walker, Roxanne Hart, Christopher Allport, and then a bunch like Rosalind Cash shows up. A very young Michael Madsen shows up. Robert Fields is there. There's a whole bunch of people that like you recognize. That kind of are like either earlier in their career or character actors. And then this was directed by Edward Zwick, who has worked on a number of things, most notably in a producer role. Like he worked as a producer on Shakespeare in Love, The Last Samurai.
Oh yeah, his name's all over the place. He was also
the executive. Yeah, he was the executive producer for 30-something, which was, at the time was a massive show. And he's still to this day, like he's worked on Away, Nashville, all kind. Yeah,
good.
Consistently working especially as a producer. Just scrolling through, get to where's his director stuff. I want to see what else he directed. He worked as a writer. He directed the Jack Reacher Never Go Back series. Blood Diamonds. Oh, he directed The Last Samurai too. I don't think I realized that.
Oh, yeah, I never knew who directed that. No. Wouldn't have remembered.
Courage Under Fire. Oh, he directed Legends of the Fall. Okay, so he did a lot more directing. Glory.
I love it when you discover stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, because you know the name, but you're never going to know everything the person's ever done. And yeah, that's fun. I like doing that.
All right, big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal, Ed. That's what we'll call him from here on out. So this is presented as a somewhat real time, but it jumps in timeline. Special Bulletin news broadcast. If you were like watching the Red Sox game and news interrupts it, there's been this situation.
Yeah.
It's presented as a national news broadcast by a fictional network called RBC, which, again, this was a NBC made program. So there's a lot of similarities there.
Right.
And it's basically, as you had said in the intro there, you have a group of terrorists who have taken hostages in a shootout. They are very smart scientists and doctors who have basically stolen plutonium.
Yeah, nuclear scientists too.
Nuclear scientists that are, they've taken this plutonium, they've created their own bomb, and they're basically like holding the city of Charleston and a large part of the Eastern Seaboard hostage in that we're going to, where if you don't give us all of the detonators that are in the vicinity of Charleston, South Carolina, then we are going to detonate this bomb and everybody dies.
Yeah.
Which it's that kind of like that counterintuitive, like, we want to stop nuclear war by starting
it's excuse me. It's exactly the the Minority Report tie-in game for consoles, where in order to prove you didn't kill that one guy, you gotta kill all these people in your way to prove you're not a murderer.
Right. 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 Exactly.
But they never had any intention of it going off. That was what they sort of admit at one point.
Well, one of them did.
Yeah.
One of them did.
Yeah.
But it's a ragtag group. You got the two main doctor guys, and then you have Rosalind Catch there, who is a she's like, they say she's a poet and she's an artist, but she's done a lot of how did they word it?
Is she a hippie activist? Is that what we're doing?
Hippie activist that had worked with a number of different things and had gotten put in jail for some stuff. And
Yeah.
but it's very much they take a couple of Coast Guard members hostage, and they take a cameraman and a reporter hostage who were there, as you heard in the clip, reporting on a dock strike, and they just happen to be in the right place at the wrong time or the wrong place at the right time, depending on which way you want to look at it. And then basically this plays out over what would be a news broadcast.
Yeah.
They demand to be able to speak. They are given an open line on the airwaves, and you get to see all of the different mindsets of different people involved. You have the people that are like, we need to give them whatever they want, because if they do have this bomb, it could be a problem. Then you have all of the people that are just like, no, you can't give them the opportunity. And it plays itself out for the most part in a very real life fashion, I would say, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. There's a little bit of, and I don't know, I honestly, I can't speak to the level of morals that the main characters have about, we're going to do this if you don't do this. I mean, it's like Spock's thing at the end of, what's it called there? Needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And the many in this case are the rest of the world. Because if the U.S. and Russia ever went to war, that's it. Everybody. Nuclear winter. It's all done. Yep. So you pop off this smaller one that'll be like, when they nuked Louisville, Kentucky
Hiroshima.
at the end of no, I'm gonna keep it light.
Okay.
At the end of Return of the Living Dead, it just destroys one city. It's not a huge yield that's going to irradiate everything forever. Just a small section of the U.S. for like 10,000 years.
That's fine.
Yeah, but it's the one thing that bugged me about the whole thing was the time jump. I really wish it had just played out in real time.
You have 90 minutes to comply.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. And it didn't have to be the 987 detonators. It could have just been another component from the thing that they knew could shut it down, or shut down an entire silo system or something like that. So it could have been faster. But the time jump kind of snapped me out of the whole thing.
it does definitely hurt its believability, because essentially when you watch it, and watching it without the commercials actually seems like it would probably even do it more of a disservice.
Yeah.
Because the version we watched on YouTube was from the Chicago Public Communications Library or something like that, like archive.
Yeah.
And it's the original broadcast on whatever the Chicago NBC affiliate was at the time. And you would go to commercial,
Yeah.
and then it would come back from commercial in a different time. 8 hours ahead, tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Yeah. But the commercials are such a great counterpoint, and it's this is going to get heavy. I can't help it. So it's going to speak to, like, when I was doing the live news captioning for CBS, I would do that captioning. If I was lucky, I would do it twice, but I could do it. I could redo it up to 5 times a night, the same news broadcast. So all the same stories, murder, whatever. And watching Ukraine and January 6th stuff, and then switching to a commercial for fucking puppy chow is such a rip in your mindset. that it just you kind of reel for a second, because in this, when you're watching it and they're like, okay, well, they're gonna start fucking killing people if we don't do what they say, then it's like, hey, I'm Jamie Press and come down and buy my cars, and it's like, holy shit, that was from before everything was fucked up. Because it's just so, they follow each other so poorly that it's brilliant.
Yeah. It's so America.
It really is. It really is. It's like, oh, the stuff going on in Gaza is terrible. Hey, next on Big Brother, we're going to make everybody eat lamb testicles. What? No, fucking help those people. God damn it.
I don't know which version of Big Brother you're watching.
The one that crossed with Fear Factor.
I was going to say.
I don't know. I was just trying to think of something really weird, and like food wouldn't have been as weird as something that is food.
Well, the
but
ones
shouldn't be.
that got me was they were like all doom and gloom, and then it was like the Stoll's beer commercial where the dog goes and gets the beers.
Oh
for the
my
guy.
God, I forgot. I love that commercial so much. Now he's pouring yours. Now he's pouring mine.
You better not be drinking those in there, Spike.
Oh man, I thought that when I was little, I'm like, oh man, I wish I had a dog that could open stuff. Now I'm glad I fucking don't.
Oh shit.
Oh. But yeah, the commercials really like took me back to that time in the 80s when everything, and I'm not exaggerating, like Cobra is essentially a bumbling Russian army, right?
Yep.
And G.I. Joe, the real American hero. Okay, gotcha. And all of it was good guys against bad guys. And the bad guys were always these fascist tyrants that just wanted to control everything, from Return of the Jedi to fucking Mumra and Thundercats. And that's what all of our entertainment was based around, was the fact that we at any point could turn into the end of Infinity War.
Yep.
And that really fucks with you when you grow up. It's basically you're living. We lived until they disarmed. It was like a 15, 16 year threat of nuclear assault. Once we could comprehend what it was that long. But for other people, it was fucking way longer. But it's like, and I'm going to try and lighten the mood here. I saw somebody write up a funny post about, I watched my coworker fuck with a Gen Xer. And I said, don't do that. You don't know what they've been through. Don't wake that giant. And I thought, you know what, that's, millennials had 9/11, which, okay, we did too, but they had that, right? And my kids, they've had nothing except January 6th, right?
Mm-hmm.
We lived with and did drills for nuclear strikes. Yep. It was the last thing I thought of at night. It was the first thing I thought of in the morning. Oh, I'm still. There was a day I was delivering papers, and it started like flurrying, and it was like mid-April. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was just still and quiet. And if there hadn't been a huge Cold War going on, I probably wouldn't have thought, oh, this is probably what Fallout looks like. Oh shit, is this Fallout? Like I missed the bomb going off or something, but like Sting wrote that song Russians, and like it still bothers me to this day, where he sings about how we're all the same except for the leaders. So we've seen some shit, us Gen Xers, and honestly, I'll stand by any of the millennials or alphas, Gen whatever. If you're doing the right thing, don't call us boomers, because we're on your side.
For the most part.
Yeah. I don't know what that point was about, but I was just trying to lighten the whole thing, because God.
Right. Well, I mean,
damn.
I remember, and it's funny because Mel was in the room when I was watching this, and I said to her, I go, hey, when you were, younger and growing up in the 80s, because she was born in 81.
Okay.
So I was like, did you like go to bed at night afraid that like nuclear war would happen? And she was like, no. I'm like, okay, so you're just a couple years too young. She's like, yeah, I don't remember any of that. I'm like, I definitely would like think about that. I think you probably a little bit more than me because I was a little bit younger, but I definitely had those thoughts of like, wow, what if like war breaks out overnight?
Yeah.
and like we just don't get up tomorrow morning.
We saw in movies all the time these villains that would sacrifice themselves to kill everyone because that's what they want to do. Fucking Ultron, in the comics was a good example of that. And you just never knew is Gorbachev gonna eat some bad food and get pissed off and hit a button?
Yeah. Are him and Reagan really okay? Like
Reagan was never okay. Reagan was a senile fucking boil on the history of America. It was honestly, I think it was the vice president there and Nancy who were making the fucking decisions in the end.
In the second term, 100%.
Yeah, he definitely should have not been. Anybody with any kind of mental impairment shouldn't be. Fucking, what is gonna? I am getting the same feelings right now with the Supreme Court decision about presidential immunity, and I'm not going to go into it, but I'm getting that same feeling of impending dread that I used to get when I was little. But
I'm not there yet, but
it's starting.
I will be, I think
it's starting.
Right.
If that dude that did Super Size Me died, right? What's his name? Morgan Spurlock. If he ate all that McDonald's and died, what the fuck? Death is like seriously missing the mark for people that eat McDonald's stuff. Like, come on.
But he didn't die from eating McDonald's.
I'm trying to make myself feel better.
He died from crippling alcoholism and cancer.
From McDonald's.
No,
I know. And he lied a lot about that.
Well, if you ever, there's a couple really good videos on YouTube if you want to look at the Super Size Me and the like complete friggin' bullshit that it was.
I mean, he's not wrong that it's not great food.
Right. No, he's not wrong there. But he conveniently left out that like he was a crippling alcoholic when he made the film. Yeah. And like, the cirrhosis of his liver wasn't from too many Big Macs. It was from the fact that he would drink a fifth of vodka every night.
Yeah, that's what destroys your liver. I mean, come on. How did people miss that?
All right, let's get back to the movie special bulletin.
Oh, okay.
We've talked a lot about the crippling fear and anxiety that we had as children.
Okay.
But let's look at this as a piece of art and a piece of media.
Okay. Go ahead.
So it is shot in, as we said, in a very chronological with some time jumps. They do a lot of, the breakaway type reports. We're going to go to so-and-so at Congress now. Yep. We're going to go to so-and-so and this. And they do a really good job of making it feel legitimately like, yes, this is kind of how it's going to play itself out. And then they do this really kind of like interesting turn midway through it where they keep going back to the terrorists, and then the terrorists start to attack verbally the news anchor.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great because you get stuff like that now, like whether it's Matt Lauer or like whoever of these guys that have done like really bad things.
Yeah.
And this guy, the guy that was the what was his name?
I honestly don't remember anybody's name in this.
It was Susan and John Woodley. John Woodley was the
okay.
Good. And then like so played by Ed Flanders. So he's like talking about how like I don't believe that these guys blah 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 blah. And they cut back and the guy is like, well, John Woodley. Like, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but he's like, how would you feel if we talked about such and such? And then like John Woodley very much like does the like shrieks into his shell.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're gonna take a break.
Because no one is innocent in that in that film.
Right.
Yeah, he does a huge big rail on media and how it's just lies. But like people today can't even relate to that because the news isn't even fucking close to the truth. Oh my god.
No.
It's just
so as the film goes on, they're like they've made their demands. We go back and forth with them a few times. We start to see some dissension between was it Bruce and Steven, who are the two main doctor guys.
Yeah, they both seem to have the same ideal, but a different way to accomplish it.
Correct, 100%. Whereas one of them is very much like, yeah, sure, fucking, I'll blow up the fucking bomb. I don't care.
Yeah, so it's Magneto and Xavier, pretty much.
Yeah, essentially. So they kind of have a back and forth, and there's a lot like, oh, what are you doing, Bruce? And like, oh, what are you like? And you see the dissension, but they also have like one like terrorist guy with them that they met in prison that is like the like loose cannon.
Yeah.
And And it all kind of plays out, and then like you have the two women that are with them questioning why they're actually there and if they're making the right decision.
Yeah.
And it's laid out very early on by the main scientist guy that, listen, I built this bomb. I put fail safes in it.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that's going to be able to turn this off before it goes off.
Yeah, and this is the only time I have ever believed the bomb maker that you can't disarm it, because if we're going with real life stuff, your bomb squad isn't going to be aware of everything, and if he's that kind of scientist where he's a good electrical or mechanical engineer, whatever we're going with, he can create new stuff that they've never seen.
Right. So this ends up being kind of where the movie falls apart a little bit for me. And spoiler alerts for the final, act of the film. I don't think anyone is going to be surprised to know that this bomb goes off at some point.
Yeah.
But the government reacts pretty much in exactly the way you would expect them to react. They basically feed them a line. Oh, we're sending you, the time comes and goes, and they're like, we're sending you the detonators. You just got to give us some time to send you the detonators. And they, of course, send in like a Navy SEAL squadron or whatever to take these guys out.
Yeah, with the distraction of them being delivered. So I don't know if they ever actually took them off of the devices or if they just gathered spares.
They didn't. They didn't do any of that stuff.
But they distracted them on the port side, the dock side of the boat, while the little Navy SEAL inflatable raft could come up.
Right. And what they did was pretty good, though, is they somehow cut their feed from the news, because they were watching the news in the tugboat.
Yep.
The bomb is in the belly of a tugboat, by the way.
Which is great because of the cramped quarters and the shitty lighting.
Right.
It made it feel very real.
Exactly. So anyway, the government brings in the SEAL team. They come in, and rather than be smart and figure out a way to get out of the situation without killing all of them, they kill all of them.
Yeah, instead of capturing anyone.
Especially the guy that was like, I'm the only one that can defuse this bomb.
Yeah. Once he's captured, you just leave him on the boat. He's not going to want to die.
Right. There's so many ways they could have gotten out of this.
I mean,
and then
why couldn't they have... Okay. Turn the tugboat on, drive it out to the middle of the ocean, and fucking sink it.
Yeah. The first thing I thought was when they're trying to defuse it there, I'm like, it's on a boat.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do this right here. Like, because the timer wasn't, the timer was off, wasn't it? They turned the timer off because they thought they had won. That's what I thought was they turned the timer off, so it wasn't like there was like time for it to explode.
I thought
they were
there was a time that they were going down to. Let me mute
There was, but I thought they turned it off when they realized that, or maybe he turned it back on.
By tampering with it, you mean?
Maybe, yeah. But still, like, they make no attempt to move this out of the harbor.
Yeah. There's got to be something I missed, because the rest of it seemed to be very well thought out. Huh.
But the thing is, you can look at it like that's what the government would do. They wouldn't take the time to make sure. They would make a rash decision, come in and blow the thing, especially in 1983.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Moments before the handover, power failure occurs in Charleston. All televisions, including the one on the tugboat, go off the air. This proves to be deliberate, as a Delta Force commando team storms the boat, killing several of the terrorists, including Dr. Lyman. Dr. McKeeson is cornered, but commits suicide to escape capture.
Oh.
I remember. That's why they...
Okay. Okay, I fucked that up then. That's a big...
But it happens so fast, and there's so much gunfire, like it's easy for it to all get jumbled up. Steve and George are safely taken off the ship, but they continue to broadcast on the dock while the Nest team boards the boat to disarm the device. They accidentally triggered one of his safeguards. That's what it was. So it was not going when they started.
That's what I thought. So they could have had the opportunity to move it somewhere else.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Middle of the Atlantic, sink it. No one would ever be able to recover it.
Right.
Or fucking detonate it or whatever. I don't know. None of it's good, regardless.
It's a better option than having it blow up in the harbor and take out the entire city.
Yeah. And you could even have a helicopter standing by to get the guy off the boat and maybe get to a minimum safe aliens distance.
Yeah, I feel like there was just like the decision at the end was all very rash.
Yeah, I think because they might have realized they were running out of time. But I mean, when you committee this kind of not natural, just terrorist attack, people are going to get emotional. They're not going to think straight. They're going to, like in Die Hard 3, right? They say, oh, there's a bomb in one of the elementary schools, and every parent on the police force freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then the other thing that bugged me was they spend all this time, I shouldn't say all this time, but a chunk of time telling you if the bomb goes off, this is what would happen.
Yeah.
You know, the explosion radius would do this, the heat radius would do this, the fallout would do this, and then the bomb explodes, and for somehow, like, one of the reporters that's, like, not even a mile away from the thing survives. And, like, her camera still works, and she's able to, like, talk and be like, everybody else here is dead, and the place is destroyed, but somehow the camera's fine, and our uplink is still good, and, like... That drove me insane.
I'm going to look something up. Because I want to make sure. Because they said it was equal to Hiroshima, right? Or Nagasaki, one of the two.
One of the two, yeah.
Which they were close, right?
But they talked about how, like... What?
In the resulting inferno, the blast wave that follows instantly kills people directly in their path, but a new study finds that some people, ready? 2 to 7 miles away could survive if they're lucky enough to find the right shelter. And the side of that boat was steel. That railing part.
All right.
That's a surprise. I thought that the heat would just fry you, but 2 miles seems to be... I mean, she's obviously going to die of radiation poisoning within a week, but yeah.
Because it just still seemed, and considering it killed like everybody else in the building, all the windows were blown out, everything was on fire. Her and her cameraman just happened to be fine.
Well, there is that story of the one guy in Japan who was in one of the, I forget which city was first, but he was in that city, and then after it got bombed, he left and went to either Hiroshima or Nagasaki and was there for the second bomb being dropped. And he made it out. So, okay, fine. I'll give it
There's also that story of the guy that climbed into the refrigerator.
That's true.
And survived.
It was lead lined. That man, I heard, also fell out of a moving airplane into the mountains on an inflatable raft, and nobody complained about that one.
I heard he ate monkey brains.
Yeah.
All right, let's grade. All right, Chris. Oh, what did I just...
Something snap?
It did it again. I hit the wrong button.
Oh. Okay.
Chris, what do you recommend and what is your grade for 1983's Special Bulletin?
Okay, I think if you were aware at all in the 80s, this is definitely a throwback that's going to make you... Why does my voice crack all the time?
I don't know.
It's gonna remind
teenager?
you. Yeah. Maybe because I talk a lot now. I don't know. It's gonna affect you a little bit. I had a hard time for a little bit, kind of thinking about anything else but this, because it was such an overbearing part of my life. That it was not fun. I do feel like at the time, the information they had, that was as realistic as it could possibly be. The only thing I didn't like was the jump from night to the next morning. That took too long. That was too much of a jump,
right?
You know. But if you can get past that, then that's you're golden. There's nothing fun about this, but it's also not. It's not mean-spirited. It's sort of mean in an ignorant way. Like, these people are trying to make the world a better place for everyone, and this is the point. This is the level they have to stoop to get people to just listen to them. And that's sort of how it felt back then. Nobody wanted to admit that America wasn't the best at anything. And I'm so glad that's changed.
Yeah.
He said 2,500 years from now.
Yeah. As you can see the smirk I made.
But we were all on the same side in the 80s.
Yes.
Rocky IV was big because he fought a Russian. That's So was Rambo 3, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hey, people change sides all the time. I get it. Can't blame him for making a movie that was accurate at the time. Still funny though.
Very funny.
So yeah, I would not recommend this to my wife as hey, look at this. No, we'd rather watch old Halloween ads on YouTube for Carvel ice cream cakes and Cookie Puss.
Obviously Cookie Puss.
Right? But yeah, this is we call stuff a snapshot every now and then, but this is exactly that week in 1980 whatever. This is how the country felt. And although some of the people in the street reactions might have been a little intense,
you could put it that way.
People still felt like that on the inside. And I'm so glad that none of that is really a worry anymore. Even though when we watched Threads, they said that the war was going to start with Iran. And Israel was talking about sending missiles into Iran. And I'm like, do you guys not fucking watch movies? Come on. This was spelled out for you by the UK in the fucking 80s. Come on. People just need to calm the fuck down and talk to each other and listen. I know it's not a good answer. It's not the easiest answer. But what else are you going to do? Send more of your poor people to fight for you and die? Sorry. So yeah, I'm going to give this a B+.
All right then.
Oh, God. I hated certain parts of the 80s, but some of the years, the year 85 for movies was fucking great. 83 to 87 was fantastic. But then there were MX missiles everywhere and what the fuck? What? Sorry.
I was going to give my grade.
Oh, I'm not going to let you. I'm going to keep talking.
I'm going to recommend it. Yeah. It did give, so it's an interesting watch, especially if you watch this version of it with the original broadcast commercials in it and stuff, because it is a weird kind of tightrope of intense nostalgia and then intense nostalgia of fears you used to have if you were, growing up or alive at this time period. But I think it's very well made. I enjoyed this more than Threads. My issues with Threads are kind of the way it jumps around and it's a documentary, it's not a documentary, and then it's this and it's that, and it's this doesn't change to a narrative at any point, or it is this broadcast of this time period with some jumps in time. And the one jump in time that didn't really bother me was the last one where they were it's been 2 weeks since the explosion.
Oh yeah, no, that one made sense. Yeah.
But overall, I think it's well done. I like the acting in it. I thought everyone was believable in what they were doing. The scientists / terrorists were creatively unhinged at points when they needed to be, and then it was very well done. And I'm honestly quite shocked that this isn't talked about more with things like Threads or Boy and His Dog or any of those kind of anti-nuclear movies that are always kind of brought up. Maybe because it's not really there's not a real readily available version of it. Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube, but there isn't a streaming version of it available or anything like that.
Yeah.
But overall, I will give it a B.
I think one of the most effective things, before I forget this, because every time we do the show, 3 days later, I'm oh, I wanted to say that, so I'm going to remember this time. The fact that the actors welcomed you back and sent you to the real commercials is one of the strongest decisions they made in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because then it feels cohesive that way. And it's
sure.
It's not like when I'm watching the Halloween mega tape thing and it goes to commercial and my daughter, one of my kids, Ripley's favorite character, shows up in the beginning. He's I'm Dr. Pizza. She's I love Dr. Pizza. Dr. Pizza looks like the assistant host in Late Night with the Devil, pretty much.
Wish I was Dr. Pizza.
Yeah, every pizza comes with stickers for the kids.
Nice. Speaking of stickers for the kids, next up, 1980. Graydon Clark directed, Jack Palance, Martin Landau starring. Without Warning. Here is a trailer.
The hunting season has begun. But the hunter isn't human. Only the prey are. It came without warning,
Hey, he said the
like
thing.
nothing on this earth,
Our friends are dead.
beyond any known terror.
Saw that horrible creature. Come on. Exchange me, man.
Because when it leaves this planet, no one may be left alive.
Look, I'm warning you. When they start eating on you, don't come to me for help.
Baby!
He came down here with a sport. He wants to get himself a few trophies. And you know what? Right now, you and me, we are the prize game.
The hunter. The hunted.
There was no tree.
The thing that preys on human fear and feeds on human flesh. From deepest space it came, and now man is the endangered species. It came without warning, and now it's coming for you.
All right. Without Warning.
All right. Can I pause this for 1 second?
Sure can.
Okay, so the guy that I was talking about that survived both bombs, it's even crazier than just that. Can I give you a real quick thing here?
Sure.
Okay. Somu Yamaguchi was a resident of Nagasaki. He was in Hiroshima on business for his employer, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, when the city was bombed at 8:15 a.m. on August 6, 1945. He returned to Nagasaki the following day and, despite his wounds, returned to work on August 9th, the day of the second atomic bombing. That morning, and this is where it gets weird and almost unbelievable, while he was being told by his supervisor that he was, quote, crazy after describing how one bomb had destroyed the city, the Nagasaki bomb was detonated. In 1957, he was recognized as a hibakusha, explosion-affected person of the Nagasaki bombing, but was not officially recognized as a survivor until 2009. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if I'm standing there talking to you and I'm like, no, I swear to God, it was a huge UFO that blew up the house next to me. And you're like, shut the fuck. And in the middle of that, the house blows up and there's a huge UFO. Like, what are the chances that he's being scolded and it goes off?
I mean, very slim.
I mean, 100% since it happened, right? But that's just insane. That's like evacuating the first tower into the second tower. You know?
Right. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Okay, so that's an amazing story, and I had to give him credit for what I didn't know. Anyway, go ahead.
Speaking of giving credit, Graydon Clark, director of Without Warning, friend of the show, one of the interviewees in Survival of the Film Freaks, directed The Bad Bunch, Black Shampoo, Satan's Cheerleaders, Angels Brigade, Wacko, Joysticks, Final Justice. I mean,
Oh, Wacko, I forgot about that.
Graydon Clark is OTC legend.
Yeah.
Really great guy too. Really great guy. Without Warning stars Jack Palance, Martin Landau, Tara Neuter, Christopher S. Nelson, who I thought was super familiar to me, and then realized that's only because I'm like one of the three people that's obsessed with Roller Boogie.
Oh.
But he was also the stuntman in RoboCop 3. So, like, I'm pretty sure he was the stunt RoboCop in RoboCop 3.
Okay. That's the one who you could see his sneakers at the bottom of the shoes, right?
Yep. He was also, it looks like he was in some early General Hospital episodes.
Okay.
$6 Million Man. But yeah, he was in Roller Boogie, and I love.
I think every actor that was acting at the time had a role on either the $6 Million Man or the Bionic Woman.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Cameron Mitchell also shows up in a pseudo cameo role. Neville Brand is there. Young David Caruso walks by the screen at one point.
He's so weird looking when he's younger.
Yeah.
He grew into his face, is what I'm saying.
He did. So Without Warning is a very simple prototype slasher alien flick.
Yeah.
Sandy and Greg are teenagers. They're going camping with a couple of their friends. They're told not to for whatever reason. Their friends disappear. They find them dead, and then they're being chased by these weird frisbee-like aliens that apparently suck your blood and then put slime on you.
Which is not unlike Predator's throwing star thing.
All right, just get your Predator obsession out here.
Kevin Peter Hall's in a movie that was Predator before Predator. This is the movie. It's an alien.
But this alien was the worst Predator ever.
Yeah, but he still did the same stuff, right?
Stood there and threw things.
Yeah, because he probably thought he was invisible. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Maybe Kevin couldn't see in the mask, but it was a jarring looking alien the first time he's revealed.
Oh, and you don't see it till like 90% of the way through the movie.
Yeah.
Unless you watch the trailer or look at the poster art.
Right. The poster art is good. I think that's the newest version of the poster art. And I like it. That's it. It's what gave.
You say that now.
I know. It's what gave Predator. It gave Black the idea for Predator.
I don't believe that for a second.
No, this is all. Most Dangerous Game with an alien. That's it.
It is and it isn't.
I know.
It isn't. I can see why you would say that, but I wholeheartedly disagree.
I just mean the idea of humans being hunted is.
But they don't know that they're being hunted. That's the difference.
Well, after a point, they do, right?
It's a slasher movie that the killer ends up being an alien, is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, and it all is just very pedestrian.
Yeah.
Through the whole thing.
Except for Martin Landau.
So Martin Landau plays Sarge.
Yeah.
We're introduced to him early on in the flick. The van of young teens are heading to the lake. They pull into a very dilapidated gas station.
I would have driven past it. It looks like it had been shut down for 10 years.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they get there and they're like, "Oh, is it even open?" And it's like, no, it's not. So the two girls go to the bathroom. The women's room is locked. They go into the men's room. Martin Landau's in there, and they fixate on something written on the wall. It says like, "No hope, no survival, no shoes, no service." Like, it says something like, and they like, "What do you think that means?" And Martin Landau's like, "I don't fucking know. I'm just peeing."
Like, so weird.
Yeah, whatever. Kids are stupid. And that's what he says. He's like, kids are dumb.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
So then they're like, "Oh, well, there's nobody here, so why are we going to pay for the gas?" I'm like, well, first of all, like, you're going to pay for the gas because you took the gas.
Yeah. But didn't they had no issue with that, right? They wanted to pay for it, and it was just
half of them wanted to pay for it. The one other kid didn't.
Okay.
But then they go into the gas station. "Hello, is anyone home?" There's no lights on.
Yeah.
There's cobwebs all over everything.
But fresh gas.
Gas, and the pumps worked. So
yeah.
Then out of nowhere, after like 3 or 4 minutes, there's a hat that's filled with baby rats.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, look at the baby rats.
Yeah.
Like, those aren't. First of all, those are guinea pigs. Those aren't rats.
I was hoping they would have been possums.
And then Jack Palance comes stumbling out of the like back door and says to them, "What are you kids doing here?"
Yeah.
And they respond with, "Trying to pay for gas."
Yeah.
Because why else would they be there?
Yeah.
And then he does the fucking Friday the 13th. They're like, "We're going to the lake." He's like, "Don't go to the lake."
Yep.
And they're like, "Why not?" He's like,
"There's a death curse.
There's hunters there.
Yeah.
So just don't go there because there's been accidents."
To be fair, this came out the same year as Friday the 13th.
Right.
So, I don't know.
So they go to the lake.
Yep.
They are like, "Isn't this beautiful?" And I'm looking at it and I'm like, "No, it looks gross."
Yeah, I mean, if you live in Threads world, yeah, it's beautiful.
It's like if you've never actually seen what a beach looks like, yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So they're swimming or whatever, and then one of the guys that's with him starts to be like, I'm gonna get frisky with my girlfriend. So the other two go off for a walk. They come back, they're gone.
Of course.
They go to try to find them. One of them falls in a trap. He helps her out. Then they find like a random shed in the middle of the woods, and there's all these dead bodies in the shed.
I just found out an interesting piece of trivia we can interrupt the synopsis for.
Please do.
One of the writers of Without Warning went on to create a little-known show called Saved by the Bell.
Never heard of it.
Oh, okay.
Is that a boxing TV show?
Yes. Oh, wait. Created Saved by the Bell, the new class. I don't know about the original one.
That's not something to be proud of.
But he wrote
because
19
Saved by the Bell
episodes.
was already created, and then all you did was like, oh, hey, let's make another Saved by the Bell just with different people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't do shit. Your trivia ruined my synopsis for nothing.
Well, I didn't say it was good trivia.
Anyway. So then we're off in like these. So the things that fly through the air are these like semicircular alien like
They're living
organisms.
they're living ninja stars.
No, because they don't cut though. They they cup on you and bite you.
Yeah, so like Starro.
Wait, what's Starro?
Starro's from DC. It's got the little sea stars that fly out with the eyeball on it. It takes control of you like a hive mind. He was in that good Suicide Squad movie at the end. The big guy.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
It feels a lot to like the weapons that the Creeper would make with real body parts and stuff in it.
All right.
So it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, executed poorly.
Well, I did see, and this might help. Might be a good trivia. The movie only cost $150,000 to make. $75,000 of that went to Landau and Palance, and $19,000 of it went to Rick Baker for making the mask. The only real set that was built was the shed that the bodies were in. So this is a cheap movie.
It sure is.
And I'm okay with that, actually. It's got a little bit of a charm, the way the little things float through the air like they're only on one piece of fishing wire. It's just ridiculous.
So these organisms are chasing them down. They get back to the van. They drive away. They go to the local bar filled with everybody, and they go in. And they're like, hey, so like there's some weird shit going on. We need your help.
Yep.
And Martin Landau, they're like, hey, Sarge, so these people saw those flying things you like to tell us about. So apparently they're real.
Yeah.
And so then at this point, that's Martin Landau's cue. And I can imagine Graydon Clark was like, all right, Martin. All right, Marty.
Show me what you got.
All of your character development out the window and just go for it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Martin Landau does.
Oh, he looks like the only guy having fun with this.
And he was wearing a bad wig, or actually Palance is wearing a bad wig. Landau might have been Landau's hair. And Landau is just the like grizzled, saw too much shit in the war.
Yeah.
And has also now seen weird shit in the woods.
Yeah.
And is just like gone.
He's had enough.
He's gone, and yet he's still allowed to carry a handgun.
It's the fucking 80s America.
So he just starts going, oh, the aliens in the woods, and I'm here to keep the good soldiers right. Like he's just back and forth, like crazy old army, back and forth. And they're like, all right, well, we called the sheriff. And the sheriff opens the door, and Martin Landau just shoots him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to.
And he kept his gun, right? Of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
He shoots the sheriff.
Yeah.
And then they get an ambulance to come and take the sheriff away. But nobody takes Martin Landau into custody because apparently there's no other police in this small town.
No, not at all.
So what does Martin Landau do? He steals the police car.
Of course.
And he's gonna go find the young kids that he now believes are the alien.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah,
because they're the newest ones around.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
That makes sense now.
So meanwhile, the two kids are holding up in this house that they find, The thing that I don't understand is they're trying to protect themselves. So what does this fucking idiot do? He breaks down like the front door. Like he doesn't break down the front door, but he smashes the window on the front door.
Yeah.
So that anybody can just come in.
Yeah. That doesn't make sense. I never understood that kind of thing.
Nope, me either. There's definitely ways to open that door without like compromising it.
Yeah, and also a broken window. Like this thing traveled across space. I think it can tell if you've been through a door.
It has flying flesh stars.
Yeah.
Of course it's going to get through the door.
Yeah.
Because we've got a few scenes of this thing stalking its prey, but we haven't seen it yet. But either way, so Roller Boogie over there gets a thing stuck on his face. The girl's running. She runs into Jack Palance, and they got to try to save the day. And that's really it.
Yeah. I'm gonna say something that might be controversial, but also might just be something everybody already knows. This movie really showed me that Jack Palance can act, but also he can't at times.
Yeah.
He's bad in this.
Yeah, he is.
Martin Landau fortunately picks up his slack because I don't remember how bad he was, but I remember how crazy Landau was.
Right.
So that balanced out. But I remember when he first came into the gas station, I'm like, oh, he's barely awake. What is happening? He's not like the guy that made the Joker in that Batman movie. Come on, what's happening here? He just didn't look like he gave a shit.
And I don't think he did.
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, he just like comes in, does his thing, his wig's on sideways half the time.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job of acting like he was just drunk.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's acting or not, but I can't say because I don't know. I'm just
right. And what we didn't get in this movie that is something you really need in all alien films in general is like the arrival of the alien.
Yeah, because then we believe them.
Right. There's no like shooting star or asteroid that fell in or like UFO spotted. This thing is just kind of
not even
there.
Let's go to this woods because there's been weird things.
It's just kind of there.
A sentence, like I've said the whole time I've done this show, sometimes a sentence is all you need. Like in the there was that movie where they changed the guy's look. His whole seconds.
Yep.
They're like, oh, we did an operation on your larynx, so you're gonna sound different, so don't worry about that. And I'm like, okay, good. You got that. That's a very difficult thing for me to believe in movies when they swap faces or heads, and it's like, no. But that's it. Just a sentence. And it's gotta make sense. So there's two criteria, but
right.
Yeah. And then there's could this alien actually disguise itself as humans? I was never clear on that.
No, I don't think it can.
They just assumed that kind of thing because they don't know. Yep. Okay. Yeah, because that was a thing. That's why the sheriff was shot, right?
No, he was shot just because Martin Landau wasn't paying attention.
Oh, see, I thought it was
the door opened. He couldn't see the face, so he shot it.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
The alien design is clunky.
Oh, it's because
he doesn't do anything.
He calls them flying. They call them flying jellyfish in this article here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, the alien really,
the actual alien design.
The alien really just stands there. The alien design is kind of interesting because it's got a big bulbous head. Because then you got to show that it's smarter than humans with its giant noodle. It looks like prosthetics around the mouth so that it can expose its teeth, it gives it a nice, like, alive feel to it that you don't get from just a straight mask.
Yeah, and I mean it's your classic grays.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like
just a lot bigger.
It's the grays mixed with that one alien you have at the end of the original Star Trek series that has the slanty almond eyes with the slits in them and it's weird lighting, and that was really the disguise for what's his name there, the ice cream man. Fuck, Clint Howard.
Oh,
yeah, that took a while. I liked the look of the head. It's got kind of a little bit of an octopus feel to it with the size of the back of the head. The eyes are really interesting. The fact that it could move its mouth even though it didn't say a fucking word was good. It's got claws. It's kind of dressed in like a Mad Max Thunderdome kind of knit cable thing that's real loose, like a net like the Predator wears on his body. So and a turtleneck with square shoulders.
Yeah.
So he's got a little bit of a futuristic retro look to him.
Yeah, well, the shoulders are squared like that, so that way when they shoot it in the arm, they can pour 3 gallons of like jelly out of it.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't mind the look of this, and the first reveal of it in the cabin, reaching out for her, is like that shook me a little bit because I didn't expect it to look like that.
Yeah, it works. It works.
Yeah, but you're right. They if you compare Kevin Peter Hall in this costume versus the Predator costume in the jungle, where he is in full costume, metal mask on in the front and everything, and he's running down a slope of rocks. And he just stands here in this one outside of a cabin and like throws a couple things. It's different. It's they didn't have the money to really do anything, it seems.
And I also feel like having Jack Palance be the guy there at the end, they were like probably questioning that. They were like, "Oh man, we killed the wrong character off." That kid would have done so much more here than Jack Palance.
Yeah, he just stood there and like yelled in pain a lot and stuff.
Yeah, the alien just kept throwing more of the flesh frisbees at him.
Yeah,
like every time he'd get hit with one, he'd like take his knife and he'd like stab it and like pull it off, and then the guy was like, "All right, well, here's another one.
I got more. I just fart these things out. Let's go."
Ridiculous. All right, let's grade.
All right.
All right, Chris, without warning, what is your grade and do you recommend it?
I'm going to recommend this because I think it's a really kind of dumb, fun, like Saturday afternoon kind of horror thing, sci-fi horror thing there. It's got a decent alien when you finally see it. It's got a bunch of faces you're going to recognize. And honestly, I recommend it for Martin Landau's unhinged fucking performance all on its own.
Fair.
And anything that Rick Baker does, I will take a look and see it in motion. And I don't think his art style disappointed in this one. The choreography and the fights that didn't happen, it's a big question there. So I am going to give it a B- because I could not stop watching. It really kept my attention. And most of the arguments that people were having with each other kind of made sense within the story. So I was okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know why on my thing here I put part-time Ghostbuster?
Nope.
It's a reference to Larry Storch, who was in this in Without Warning. But he was on the TV show The Ghostbusters with the gorilla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's an Easter egg on the show.
You got to watch the video version to get that, though.
Yep.
This is thoroughly fine.
Yeah.
I guess I'll give it a tepid recommend. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination compared to some of the stuff that we've seen that we were like, this is bad. But it's also not great. So, interesting little piece of low budget Graydon Clark stuff. So, I mean, if you've seen Graydon Clark stuff and you want to, check it out, then definitely check it out. If you want to see Martin Landau just out of his fucking gourd,
yeah.
I think that's probably worth the price of admission.
He's crazier here than at the Mission Impossible premiere when when he was asked if he ever watched the show, and he was in it, and he got really pissed about that. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
That's how uncomfortable it was. A movie I don't care about, an actor I don't think of, asked by somebody that I'll never remember, has stuck in my head as one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever witnessed.
Ridiculous. So I can't grade it anything higher than a C.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't do anything new or that we haven't seen before, and it's low budget, but it's a director that we love. So, I mean, that alone keeps it up out of the D's, I think.
That's fair.
There you go.
That's fair.
There you go. All right, so that's Without Warning. Joe is back this week. I believe he's doing the Wrong Turn reboot from a couple years back. Let's take a listen.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. Your boy Joe here. And, Bill kept me in Appalachia, but he sent me to a place that has a completely different tone. Because he made me watch Wrong Turn from 2021. Let's talk about Alan McElroy for just a sec. What do you say?
Sure.
It's a name that I had never heard until I started reviewing this middling at best franchise of films. Viewing A-Dog's Wikipedia page, not being a notable screenwriter is probably the best he could hope for. To me, he is now very notable, but I'll get there in a second. Screenwriter, I think, tends to be a thankless job, at least outside of the industry insiders. 99% of people don't give a shit who wrote the shit, they just want to watch the shit. The directors always get the recognition and, not undeservedly so, but without a script, we're just vamping as we go along, and the main stage at Second City is a small cast for a reason. Most people can't do that shit. Like without Harold Ramis, and I understand he was a director too, but without Harold Ramis's writing, we wouldn't have Meatballs or Caddyshack or Ghostbusters.
Never heard of it.
And the lesser, but more favorite for me, movies like Club Paradise and Armed and Dangerous.
I love Armed and Dangerous.
Despite his affinity and admitted talent for directing gigantic, never-ending epics that will test the strength of your bladder in a movie theater, without Peter Jackson's writing, we wouldn't have Meet the Feebles, Dead Alive, or The Frighteners. God damn, I love The Frighteners. I could go on, but without Alan B. McElroy, we wouldn't have the Kirk Cameron propaganda piece Left Behind.
Oh, here we go.
Nor would we have The Marine or The Marine 4.
So no John Cena.
And we wouldn't have the 1997 masterpiece on how to shit on the source material, Spawn. And fellas, without Alan B. McElroy, Esquire, we wouldn't have Ballistic. X
I
versus
knew
Sever.
I knew that name.
This fucking guy makes Brett Ratner look like Orson fucking Welles by comparison.
Absolutely.
The world needs electricians, Mr. McElroy. Maybe you should have done that. It's honest work, and you'd have saved me hours of wasted time in my life. Just saying. I have legit heat with this guy now, discovering that X versus Sever thing.
Yeah.
I also have much less hope for this movie to be good.
Good point.
Well, despite probably his best efforts, and also despite bringing Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu's careers to a grinding halt for a year or two, McElroy has managed to get me 37 minutes into a film before I say anything.
Oh.
Though, to be fair, my money's on director Mike Nelson, not that Mike Nelson, for doing the heavy lifting on this project. Instead of a bunch of strangers bumblefucking their way into each other in the wilds of West Virginia, after falling prey to a trap to disable cars set by inbred hillbillies who have the IQ of insert flat earther joke here. It's a bunch of hipster college intellectuals going to hike the Appalachian Trail who bumblefuck their way onto the lands of a secluded tribe of hillfolk who seceded from civilization before the U.S. was even a thing.
Okay.
Not entirely realistic, sure. More realistic than the OG Wrong Turn? Oh, golly, you betcha.
I mean, maybe they came from
hell,
Roanoke.
even here in central Michigan, you get the odd compound here and there. People living way fucking way back in the woods. And there's just like 3 or 4 families living in a cluster of trailers, and they're all self-sufficient and maybe just a little overprotective of their property or what is constituted as property. The characters are all stereotypes and exactly the kind of people that this kind of person hates. But it's not overblown, which makes this surprisingly more intense and, dare I say, scary for its realism prior than any of the Wrong Turns. Even in moments of panic, they're emotional, but they're still solution-focused, as most people should and would be, hopefully. They just don't know how to handle themselves in the woods, and just find a fucking river and follow it.
Right.
The baddies here are called the Foundation, which is like if the people from the village shouted to the sky, "We don't need a fucking twist ending," and the universe granted the request. After turning one of the Foundation members' head into mush, they are captured and put on trial for murder. And while it's all a bit, bigger than it realistically would be if this was real, it's vastly more intriguing than anything prior in the entire series. The only thing that would have made this more realistic is if it took place in the 20s or the 30s, or any time before GPS and satellites that would easily find this settlement of approximately a few hundred people So, we could force them to pay taxes or seize their land so Monsanto can put up another plant. I don't know. That's the beauty of this film, is that the bad guys are completely understandable in they're not even really bad. They're just different. Like, the longer this film goes on, the more you'll kind of sympathize with them. Just a little bit. There's a whole lot that happens in the last third of the film, and the credits are currently running. And I'm not going to make fun of the DP's name. His name is Nick Junkersfeld. I'm not going to make fun of him because his shots were anything but junk. This movie was beautifully shot.
It's not a bad name. I like it.
Well, there's Quark.
Oh, jeez.
I know. I liked the movie too. It does suffer, however, from Lord of the Rings syndrome, in that they cruised by at least 3 logical ending points before settling on one that didn't feel like an ending. We'd be here all damn day if I went over all the plot points at the end, and in fact, in the whole movie. And it's the first day in 7 days here that it wasn't in the 90s, and I have outside stuff to do. One thing that really separated this movie from the other films, aside from the obvious, is that this is more of an action thriller with horror elements, more than the other way around as 1 through 6 were. It's not perfect, and while it's not as fun as part 2, it was indeed my favorite of the series.
Interesting.
Here's the thing. The good. It felt more immersive and real than any of the Wrong Turn films. I realize that's a hell of a statement, but it's true. Which made the occasional horrific thing that happened in this film, and there is some pretty significant horror elements, they're just spread out nicely. This ticked almost every box you got to look for in a studio film. The bad. In the beginning, they lean a bit too much into the, there's a gay couple in the group, and the townies don't like that, and other stereotypes. I'm sorry, but I can confirm for you that black people live in small towns too. I promise. Also, the aforementioned multiple false finishes. If it gets annoying in indie wrestling for me, it's certainly going to get annoying in this film. Wrong Turn gets an A-. Thankfully, while slightly open-ended, it would be very, very tough for them to do a string of mediocre straight-to-video sequels on this, so I think I'm in the clear. The only way I'd be interested in a Wrong Turn 2 based on this is if Joe Lynch came back to do it. Which only leaves us with one order of business. Billiam, my longtime friend. What's next, bud?
Lone Wolf and Cub, right? That was the Patreon suggestion from David.
Yeah. That sounds good. Can't be that painful.
All right, OTC Nation, you heard the man. I'll be back with that next week. Until then, be good, everyone.
Cool.
I like the poster for it. It's green. It's got a guy wearing. He's kind of looking like the king there from Black Cauldron with the antlers. Okay. But I really love the tagline,
which is
"This land is their land," which is like "This land is our land. This land is your land" from the Redwood Forests. Right? That's a nice play on it there.
Not bad. Not bad.
I'm gonna check that out when we're done.
Cool. Speaking of not bad, though.
Yeah.
Reverend Scott.
Not bad.
Well, we're going to find out.
Recently, Bill got to spend some time inside my mind.
It was a weird place. I didn't really like it.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
With Reverend Scott.
Ugh.
Oh.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott.
You're Tony Wilson now.
Yeah.
This is Tony Wilson, and welcome to another mandatory Holy Shit, where I went to the movies so I had something to talk about and ended up regretting it. And speaking of regretting it, you guys reviewed some movies last week, starting with
The Rock Hudson starring Seconds.
So what's this movie all about?
Sort of like a really high concept Twilight Zone episode.
Thanks for telling me nothing. So this was directed by John Frankenstein, best known for Ben Affleck's Reindeer Games and The Butterfly Effect too. So I'm guessing this falls squarely into that gray area between sci-fi and non-sci-fi.
It's a weird little, like, not really sci-fi. I mean, I guess it's sci-fi to a point, but it's not like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
I didn't ask. So there's some guy that he's like getting phone calls from a dude that like was dead or something. And I mean, like, getting a phone call, that's horrific already.
Yeah.
But anyway, tell me more.
But he's been getting these weird phone calls from a friend of his that passed away named Charlie. And he's like, "You're not Charlie," because Charlie's dead. And he's like, "Nope, I'm Charlie, and I'm not dead."
So our main character really hates his mundane life, and he wants to do something about it. But he didn't ask anybody. They just decided they wanted to gift him with this, I guess. And that's when his not dead friend Charlie says, "Meet me at the meat packing plant." And they want to give him a new look with surgery and a new identity and a new life.
So he comes out the other side, hunky Rock Hudson.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds perfect to me. What could go wrong?
But they don't mention anything about like insurance policies or like...
Oh, no, they do. They talk about his life insurance.
So instead of changing his identity after committing a crime, he commits a crime in order to change his identity. That's amazing. So anyway, you guys spoiled the shit out of this movie and then give it an A. Pretty typical. I guess I better give it an A also. But your review? Well, that gets a D- for giving out massive spoilers. What the fuck is this, Twitter?
I don't know.
The next masterpiece was
Vault of Horror, based on the EC Comics, put out by Amicus in 73, I think.
Who knows? Anyway, tell me about the plot.
You got three old gentlemen and Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Who get into an elevator together.
I think we've all heard about this movie before. There was an alt title called Lemon Party.
Well, what are we going to talk about? Oh, how about your nightmares?
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
I don't know. From what I heard, Lemon Party was quite a nightmare as it was. But I'll summarize anyway. So the first story has a private investigator finding this guy's sister. Then it turns into the aftermath of banging a hooker on Grand Theft Auto.
Okay, cool. Here's your payment. And also, I'm going to shoot you and take my money back.
Then he kills his sister to get an inheritance or something.
All right, cool. All the money's going to be mine.
Right.
But then the guy ends up in Vampire Town. Cool. The next story is about a guy with OCD so bad that it drives his wife to dismember him in labeled containers. How ironic. Then it was a magician in India that shouldn't have murdered a girl because he steals her trick and then ends up in the upside down. Uh-oh, Netflix is buying up that story. Then was the insurance scam buried alive thing.
That's very quick and pointless.
And last but not least was the voodoo-powered hand for painting with Doctor Who. He gets Final Destination at the end. Then they all live happily ever after.
Disturbing.
I give Vault of Horror a B+, and the review gets a B+. Also, very thorough. So that just brings me to the only important part of the segment. So what masterpiece did Reverend Scott go see in the theater himself? Well, I decided to check out the new Russell Crowe as a priest again movie called The Exorcism. Not to be confused with the last 4 movies he's been in involving an exorcism. So you remember how the last exorcism had a bit of a hook to it because it was not only a found footage movie, but it was also about a guy that was an admitted fraud? Well, the hook in The Exorcism is that Russell Crowe isn't actually a priest, but he's rather an actor playing a priest in a movie about an exorcism. But get this, you're never gonna guess what happens next.
Okay. You have my attention now.
Russell Crowe is actually an actor playing an actor that's playing a priest that's an exorcist that gets possessed by a demon.
Okay, what the fuck is that?
And I don't mean the character that he's playing in the movie that he's an actor is possessed by a demon. No, I mean the character that he's playing that's playing a priest gets possessed by a demon. That makes sense? Anyway, there's a really cool set of a house where the possession takes place in the movie, and Russell Crowe's estranged daughter is there too. She's visiting and she's the PA on set, so she gets to witness all this fuckery. Because you see, the original actor playing the priest on the exorcism movie in the movie that we're watching dies mysteriously at the beginning. I don't know why. Maybe they explained it, but I sure as fuck didn't understand. And then Russell Crowe, he's been gone from acting for a long time. I mean, not him, but the character that he's playing that's an actor, because his wife had died from cancer, I think, and then he fell into the bottom of a bottle, but not just a booze bottle, but also a pill bottle.
Oh, and he can't hold his liquor.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay, give him a break. He's trying. But then again, he's not really trying, because multiple times you just see him drinking straight from a bottle of booze. But push that all aside, because wait until I tell you why he gets possessed. You want to know?
Okay, yeah. Tell me. Okay.
I have no fucking idea.
Oh.
It's seemingly totally random. I guess because he's like drinking a lot? I don't know. The movie didn't give enough of a shit to even hint at why.
That's a dick move.
The only halfway cool thing they put in this, besides Russell Crowe with black eyes, is Niles from Frasier playing an old priest who's supposed to be the expert on set in, like, you know, priest stuff. Seeing him alone made me think,
oh shit, I got something going on here. All right.
Yeah.
But they just don't do shit with it. I mean, they kind of do a little bit at the end, but nobody really gives a shit by that point. It's just the most basic bitch-ass 90-minute movie shit. I mean, I fully expected to settle right in with another Russell Crowe priest movie and think,
I liked it because it felt natural.
but he's only an actor that's playing an actor that's possessed, that's playing a priest in a movie about an exorcism called The Exorcism. But I thought at least he'd be like a fucking psycho like Nicolas Cage or something, and then I would think,
I liked this. This was weird.
Like, it was cheesy, but I loved it.
But he's just kind of a dick. Like, he's an asshole. And his director and his daughter are like,
I don't have to put up with this shit.
At the end of the day, The Exorcism is a very underwhelming and disappointing movie. I don't recommend you see it unless you're a Russell Crowe playing an actor that's possessed by a demon while he's playing a priest in a movie completionist. So I give it a D+. I mean, the special effects were passable, the lighting was fine, the acting was fine, the camera work was all professional. They just had a concept and just kind of said, that's good enough. They just didn't do shit else with it. And they could have done so much more. I think that's all I got left in me this week. That movie exorcised the demon out of me, if you know what I mean. So until next time a movie doesn't make me mad, just disappoints me. Peace and love, guys. Holy shit with Reverend Scott.
It all comes together to tell this one story about this one guy who will never be happy, no matter what.
It made me feel things. It made me question things.
An older man looking at his life and not being satisfied.
Jesus Christ, thanks.
Well, there you have it. Another week, another show, another week closer to my surgery.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. Feel free to follow us on Instagram at OTCBill, at Cthulhu. You can also follow at OTC Industries and at, don't forget to leave _doc, I think is what that one is. We have a Facebook group. We have a Facebook page. We have a YouTube page. We have a Twitch page. All those things, if you just search Outside the Cinema, you can find. Yeah. That's it, right?
I think so.
All right, cool. Everyone have a good week. We'll be back again with another show next week. Later.
Yeah. Bye.